So now we discuss the another aspect in the international transactions, that is under the diplomatic agents topic, that is the basis of immunities and privileges of the diplomatic agents. As we well aware that diplomatic agents are discharging the official functions of the state which they are appointed, and while performing their functions, the international covenants and international law conventions have guaranteeing certain rights and duties to the diplomatic corps or diplomatic agents. The question is whether they are liable for any acts if they does intentionally or unintentionally. Then from where we got the concept of diplomatic immunities? If we go back to our Indian historical perspectives in ancient India during time of Ramayana, Hanuman has went to courtship of Duryodhana to Sri Lanka, and he was captured by the Ravana forces. He brought before to the court. Then Ravana, he wanted to impose a punishment upon the Hanuman. So at that time, the brother of Ravana, Vibhushana, stated that no, he should not be punished for his acts. Though he came illegally, entered illegally into the territory of Sri Lanka, he committed some mischievous acts in the capital of Ravana. In spite of that, Vibhishana, he strongly argued that he should not be punished. Why? Because he was an envoy of Rama, Lord Rama. He should be excluded from any kind of punishment. Even in Mahabharata also, the similar stories are there. There, when the war became inevitable between the Pandavas and Kauravas, Krishna goes to the court of Duryodhana, Kauravas, and he pleads that if in the event of war took place, the Kaurava Sena will be wiped out. Then the Duryodhana and his brothers, 100 brothers, got angry. They wanted to give punishment to Krishna. But the elders who were there in the courtship of Duryodhana, like Bhishmacharya, Dronacharya, they want to Duryodhana, no, Krishna has come as a mediator, as an envoy of Pandavas. Envoys should not be given any sort of punishment of their acts. So that kind of, if it is there from our Indian historical perspectives, in modern perspectives also, the international law recognized the diplomatic immunities are privileges to the diplomatic corps, because they are performing the functions of the other state and they are not personally liable. By discharging the functions, they may commit certain acts or unintentional things or some criminal things. In spite of that, they should not be punished. So the concept of extraterritoriality is there, that has been inserted into the diplomatic privileges are concerned. Regarding this, we have two important case laws are there. The number one case law is reported in the United States of America, the Federal Court of USA, a case called Bergman versus DCS, reported in 1946, 71F, supplementary, page number 334. So in this case, the federal court judge of New York, he held, and I quote here, that a foreign minister is immune from jurisdiction, both criminal and civil, of the courts in the country to which he is accredited, on the grounds that he is a representative, the alter ego of his sovereign, who he is, of course, entitled to such immunity, and that subjection to jurisdiction of the courts would be interfere with the performance of the duties as such minister. So, in this judgment, the court has crystal clearly has stated that they are discharging the functions of a foreign state. If that is the case, they should not be liable. So they enjoy full diplomatic relation. So another case also reported in the Australia. That name of the case is ex parte Petrov in 1971 case. The Supreme Court of Australia has in-depthly analyzed whether the extraterritoriality would be there to diplomatic agents, diplomatic crop or not. So basic facts of this case, that there was a attack upon the chancery of the Soviet Union, erstwhile Soviet Union, which was situated in Canberra, the capital of Australia. And the two attackers, they damaged the certain part of the chancellery. Then the case was filed against them. So in this case, it was argued by the Soviet side that they should be punished as per the Soviet Union criminal laws. But the other side, the Australian attackers, they argued that Soviet Union or any diplomatic corps, they won't enjoy the extraterritoriality, so they should not be punishable as per the Soviet Union laws, and if they want to punish, they should be punishable as per the Australian laws. So vehement arguments were made, and finally the Supreme Court of Australia has categorically rejected the argument put forth by the Soviet government, stating that only diplomatic agents can have the immunity or privileges, but here the laws they wanted to impose upon that Australian territory, that should not be allowed. So finally it was rejected by the Federal Court of Australia, Supreme Court of Australia, and the thing has been settled. So likewise, so these are the two important case laws which speaks about the immunities and the privileges of the diplomatic agents. Again, there is a conflict is there between the different international authors. Oppenheim, Fenwick, like the Hall, Hughes. So the different authors, they have differently interpreted the laws, and they are stating that the extraterritoriality should be applicable to the legatees or the chanceries of that premises. So this is still, we can say it is unsettled. And so things are going in like way. Thank you.